Welcome to Business Notes, the show where entrepreneurs tell their stories of struggles, strategies, and successes. I'm your host, Diane Bogino. Today, we live in times of world tension, pandemics, inflation, and rapid change. And whether it's learning how to cope with stress, overcome setbacks, or develop a more resilient mindset, it's important to keep focused. I'm pleased to have as my guest today, Daron Powers. Daron is the author of Future Vision: 6 Steps to Harness Your Power and Achieve Goals in the New Normal. Over the last 4 decades, Daron has created and presented performance improvement programs impacting over 400,000 people in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. He is a former award-winning Dale Carnegie leadership coach, consultant to Fortune 500 companies, martial arts instructor, an Air Force veteran, and currently is a speaker, seminar leader, and coach. Now, here's Daron to share his formula to help you achieve your goals. Daron, welcome to the show. It's so nice to meet you.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm excited to be here. I've heard a lot of great things about you, and I've looked at your website and what you're doing for business people. And I think it's amazing. Thank you for having me be your guest.
Well, thank you for that compliment. I appreciate it. The check's in the mail. So, Daron, why did you write this book, and why did you think this was a great time to write that book?
As a matter of fact, I had another business that I'm phasing out, Video Marketing Edge. And I was accumulating a big list of clients before vacation. And I went out to Redding, California to see my daughter. And when I came back, that was March of 2019. And when I got back into the office, I looked at my list and I started thinking that, wait a minute, we're in lockdown as of today. And I suddenly realized that list dematerialized right before my very eyes. And so I thought, okay, I'm in lockdown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to study and I'm going to write and I'm going to think about how I can improve the quality of my life. And I've got a background in martial arts, many years of black belts and brown belts. And I trained people. I had a club and all of that. And I'd been wanting to get back into the martial arts. And I'd been thinking about Tai Chi and Ji Kong because I want something that I could do for the rest of my life without beating my body up. So I'm standing in front of my big screen TV running through I'm at the University of YouTube and running through some Tai Chi moves. And I started thinking to myself, this is going to be great. I'm going to do really well during this lockdown. But you know what? A lot of people aren't. I had been doing a lot of one-on-one consultations over the years. And people are telling me that, you saved my life. And of course, I don't believe I saved anybody's life, and I'm not a healer. I provide environments and guidance that helps people to heal their own life, to get their own goals, to save their own lives, to get what they want. And I thought, I developed this course, Future Vision, 20 years ago, and Ford Motor picked it up. It was proven, it worked. And I used that process in consulting over the following 20 years with consultations in both business and in personal life, and people are getting great results. So I thought, it's COVID. People are going to need some help. Maybe I should put this into book form. And so I started writing, and that's how the book got started.
So Daron, that is a great idea to write a book so people can have that anytime they want to refer to it. What was behind the 4-step process, though, or the 6-step process? I'm sorry.
Actually, what's behind the 6-step process was broken down from 3 steps. And the 3-step process was at the basis of the Future Vision seminar that I did. It was an 8-hour seminar. And it was based on 3 concepts from a guy by the name of Dr. Herbert Benson. He wrote the book, Your Maximum Mind. He's chief cardiologist at Boston University and a pretty brilliant man. He's had 10 best-selling books. And in one of his books, he had talked about the idea that you can grow your brain as easily at age 90 as at age 9. Wait a minute. Grow your brain as easily at age 90 and size and weight as age 9. Come on, there's got to be a trick. And there was. He said 3 things have to be present. And it's those 3 things that I built the book and the idea around. Now you're probably wondering what are those
Yeah, I'm
three
wondering,
things?
okay, where are those three things? You left me hanging here. Okay.
He said, first of all, you have to have, and by the way, when I talk about growing your brain, we lose brain cells as we age. Everybody knows that.
Sure.
And drink beer and all the stuff that we do, and the environment and stress all causes us to lose brain cells. But we can grow those brain cells provided that we have exposure to these three things. And what happens is, even though we lose brain cells, we have dendrites in the brain, and those dendrites can come together and form a synapses, which is a new connection, and create an entire new neural network. Now, the way I grew up, they told us we couldn't change as you grow. Who you are is who you are. But now we know from modern science that the brain has neuroplasticity, which means it can grow, it can change, provided three things are present. And the first thing is goals. We have to have not just any goal, but worthwhile goals, goals that come from within. When I was out of high school, I went to college to Lawrence Tech University to become an engineer. And I was the lower part of the class that made the upper half possible.
You're so generous, Daron.
Yeah, I wasn't in the right program, and I had the wrong goals. And so I went in the Air Force. And when I got in the Air Force, by day, I did my job. By evening, I worked in the civil engineering unit, Strategic Air Command, out in Norton Air Force Base. And the evenings I had free to pursue pretty much anything I wanted. And so I started taking classes in business and psychology. And I realized, oh my God, I'm getting great grades. I love this. I'm really doing well. I'm not as dumb as I thought I was. So it's important to have worthwhile goals. And the book really gets at, as well as the workbook. And I'm not sure if I had the workbook when we first organized this. I should probably mention that it's back here.
Yes.
So we had the book that I originally wrote and published in December of last year. That's that book, and that has all the case studies and the concepts and the ideas, and we drill down. I began to realize, I'm going to be doing seminars now with this book, and this book is based on a seminar, and there are many more exercises that I would do in the seminar. Maybe I should just go ahead and write a workbook for it that would allow to expand the book and then be able to use it in seminars. So I came up with this action planning guide, which has just many, many more, expands the book tenfold easily. Well, but it doesn't have all the case studies. It doesn't have all the good information that should be inside there. So, just having any goal is not necessarily going to do. It has to be a worthwhile goal. And in the action planning guide, what I try to do is expand people's minds. Like, we start off with a dream list, which takes you outside your comfort zone and gets you to be thinking in much larger context. There's a whole ritual that we go through there. But the key is having worthwhile goals. The second idea has to do with mindset. And the mindset is affected by everything that we think and do, how we wake up in the morning, our daily rituals. So, but what he meant by mindset was to have an expectant attitude. So, when we wake up in the morning, it's really important that we have the proper mindset, because I know from my own personal experience and talking with, working with literally thousands of people over the last, 35, 40 years, that when people wake up, if we don't have a worthwhile vision or a worthwhile goal that we're moving towards, we're automatically going to go towards the problems of the day, solving the problems of the day and the things that we're worried about and things that we're concerned about. And that gets the mind in a particular tone. And that tone can either serve us or not serve us. In most cases, when we're thinking about our problems, it's not serving us well. So the mindset, when he's talking about that, Henry Ford said it this way. I'm from the Motor City here. Henry Ford, right? Cars.
Right.
He used to say, if you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you're right. It's all about our belief system. The mindset is intimately tied to the belief system. And so when we're working towards a goal, one of the things that both of the books work towards is, okay, you've got this goal. Now, what's standing in your way? There'll be the external things. It might be time or money or people, all the external things. And those are solvable. The internal things are the things that can sabotage our goals that we're not necessarily aware of. And that's part of the expectant attitude. That's the mindset. And so in the book, what we're trying to do is to lay out what are those internal obstacles and then to deal with them. And that's where in the book, I talk about a process called E.F.T, Emotional Freedom Technique. And it's a way put together with some of the devices that I've laid out in the book, to put those together to reduce the impact that beliefs, particularly negative beliefs or sabotaging beliefs, can have that will impact your ability to reach that goal. That's all part of the mindset. And what's interesting about this is that by using that technique, and there are other techniques too, by using that technique, what we're doing is we're quieting the part of the brain, the limbic part of the brain that cavemen, would preserve their life. If there was a tiger or a snake or, something trying to kill them, that limbic brain would kick in, the adrenals would kick up, the cortisol levels in the brain and the body would go up. And, we could do things we didn't think we could do. And, but then once the threat is gone, then the pressure or the stress and the cortisol recedes and we go back to a normal state. Well, what's really important about this particular mindset part is, during COVID, a lot of people were under a lot of stress. In fact, there was a Harris poll from the American Psychological Association. They said that 78% of the population felt enormous stress due to COVID. There was an average weight gain of 29 pounds. People had, got into addictions, alcohol, drug addictions. Yeah. It affected their lives in profound ways. Had we during this time been thinking not just about getting a vaccine, but actually developing immunity and resilient thinking, I think this could have gone a long way towards helping to make things better for people rather than just to rely on, a vaccine. People need to strengthen that mental attitude and also their immunity. And so that's what that second step, the expectant attitude, does all of that, particularly with regard to my book. Okay. Right. So you got goals, you got worthwhile goals, you got expectant mindset. So you're expecting that things are going to work well, and you're working with the attitudes that may sabotage you or get in your way, reducing those, which could also be used in job interviews. And I'll give you an example of that in just a little bit. So that's the second one. The third idea has to do with environment. Best way I can describe environment is, I remember when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, I worked, it was for 4 years for a fast food. Well, not a fast food. It was a medium food. It was not quite fast. It was somewhere between slow and fast restaurant. It was called Lazos, and it was on Michigan Avenue in Dearborn. And I started as a, bus boy, or rather a dishwasher, then a bus boy, and then I became cook and then head cook. And interestingly enough, the owner of the owner's son of Blazos, his name was Don, and he would come to work and nobody liked him. Not the dishwashers, not the waitresses, not the bus boys, not the Sunday, not the slow cook, the fast cook, not anybody. Nobody liked him. And I'm telling you, this business was a booming business. People would line up around the restaurant and it would go like that from 4 till 12, 1 o'clock at night. I mean, we were kicking butt. So wow. Don would come in and he would tell us everything that we did that was wrong. And we just didn't like him. And if he asked us to come in a day off, forget it. It was not going to happen. He didn't respect anybody on the team. he used some of the, bromides. He knew he needed to respect us, but it wasn't coming from his heart. And as a result, the environment that he created was one of conflict.
Mm.
And, we weren't at our best. However, there was a hired hand, Mr. Sawicki. And when Mr. Sawicki came in, we loved working for him. I would have crawled through a parking lot of cracked glass if he asked me to do it. Because when he came in, the first things he would ask about is, how are you guys doing? How are you doing today? How's school going? How's your home life doing? How are you doing as a human being? Oh my God, what a concept.
Yeah, right.
While we're working, he's asking these questions while we're in motion. I remember I'm cooking and I'm moving things around, and he's, okay, let's consolidate. We just had a big rush. And then there was this lull. He says, let's consolidate. While we're consolidating, he's going, how's things going over here? How are you doing over here? What's going on over here? Are you okay with this? And I'm just telling you, we loved working. We would work 10 times as hard because the environment he created was one of great respect, one of feeling good about ourselves, of feeling like we were making a difference while he was there. So when we talk environment, excuse me. So when we talk about environment, we're talking about what are those things that are around us that support us in becoming more of who we can be. So, as we age, as we grow, if we're in an environment where they're telling us, oh, you're over the hill, you can't remember anything, you're that's not the right environment.
That's
if you're
right.
in a working environment and you go into a meeting and the boss says, or who's ever in charge goes, let's talk about what's not working here now. This is just not happening. Contrast that with an environment where you lead off the meeting with, hey, what's working around here? Let's talk about some of the good things that we're doing. That's a different kind of environment. That's one of respect. That's one of drawing out, the better in people and getting them to think in ways that are more positive towards the business, towards their customers, and towards each other. So those are the three things: worthwhile goals, expectant attitude, and an enriched environment versus impoverished environment.
I like that enriched environment. That's really important. So could you give us, give the audience some clues about how to set goals and achieving them? I think a lot of people don't understand how important goals are.
When I was, I did Dale Carnegie for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I was, the leadership and sales and management, human relations, communication, stress management. And I was getting started in the first couple of years. I really was not doing well. It was very difficult because you had to bring in your own clients. And I hired a coach. I started doing okay, but I wanted to do so much better. I wanted to reach more people. And so I actually hired a coach to take me from an okay level to a high level. And I did have goals. I did a lot of the things that we're talking about, but there were finer points. And I hired this guy. This is back in the mid 80s at $100 an hour. And, fast forward to what that might cost today. And I'm telling you, in a year later, my business was through the roof. I was at six figures and I was bringing people in to the business that hit six figures. And it was from that coaching that made the difference. And I tell people today, look, you may be doing well. You could do even better if you get the right coach. Coaches make a huge difference. And I'm glad to hear that that's what you're doing. So I was, when I was in the Air Force, I read a book by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. He was a plastic surgeon. And, he would change people's faces, their nose, whatever it is that they wanted to change. And what he discovered was that even though he helped them to make those physical changes, they oftentimes after the surgery still didn't like themselves or some aspect about themselves. And so he reasoned, they need more than just plastic surgery. And one of the things he would get people started on is with goals, written goals. And so he said, the mind is teleological. It's like a goal-seeking missile, and the mind needs goals to function most effectively. There was another author by the name of Viktor Frankl. He wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And Viktor Frankl was in Auschwitz, Hitler's concentration camps. And he said when they would do their sorting, they would sort by people's goals. If you didn't have goals in that camp, you were fine. Okay, you were good with them. If you had goals, if you had a direction, if there's something that you wanted to maybe do when you got out of camp, if you thought you were going to get out of camp, you're considered dangerous. The mind is teleological. It needs a goal. And one of the things, and I recall in so many seminars that I've done, and I've created a lot of courses and seminars for Fortune 500 companies, General Motors, Ford, Pulte Homes, and these are the larger players, ADP, Toyota, so many different companies. And one of the things I always try to get across is not only do you have to have goals, you've got to write them down. You've got to actually put them in writing, because when you write it on a piece of paper, you engage different parts of your body and your mind. And it's so easy to just keep a goal in your head and not be accountable. When you write it down, it's important. It makes you accountable for that goal. So that's one thing. And then, of course, getting to write goals, I always suggest to people, create a dream list first. Create a dream list of, there was a guy by the name of John Goddard, who at age 15, he was listening to his father. He was living with his father in a mobile home park. So he didn't come with a silver spoon in his mouth. And he's age 15, he's listening to his father, one of his father's friends, be in a state of remorse about all the things he didn't do in his life. And so he thought, I'm not going to be like those old people who are living a life of regret. I'm going to do some things with my life. And he pulled out a pad of paper. And at age 15, he started writing down all the things he wanted to do with his life. He wanted to explore, the Nile River, climb mountains. He wanted to learn to fly, learn languages, visit different cultures. I mean, these are all things at age 15. There's no way he could know how he was going to possibly achieve those things. But by the time he was 43, he had a list of over 100 goals. He had done 103 of those goals by age 43 and added 600 more to that. And, many, many, many of those goals. I mean, the point is, write it down. Don't just keep it in your head. And then once you've written a goal down, it's important to ask yourself, why is that goal important? Because, I got a set of drills that I just bought recently, the last couple of weeks. I didn't buy that set of drills to feature on my mantle, over the fireplace. I bought those set of drills so I could make holes in things. Right. And so we don't write goals just so that we can, it's not the money. Let's say we have a goal. I want to earn X number of dollars per year. It's not the money. It's what the money does for you. And it's so important that people focus on what the goal does for them, because that's what involves then emotions. And it's the emotions that are causative. It's not the goal. It's not the money. It's what the money does for you. As an example, it might be what it buys for you. Maybe it buys you domestic help around the house, so you don't have to clean the house or weed the garden or clean the garage, which, is one of my newest goals. Okay. I'm kind of tired of doing some of that stuff. So, it's domestic help so that I can have a cleaner house as a single guy. Right. So I'm not doing all this stuff. So it's important to write the goal for accountability, but secondly, to list why that goal is important. And then you don't just list the first thing. The first thing that comes to mind, you keep asking yourself, well, why is that important? Well, why is that important? Well, why is that important? So then I have what I call the secret 7 list of goals. And I put 7 goals on a card. And that's 7 plus or minus 2, because what psychologists have determined is that we can remember approximately 7 plus or minus 2 things top of mind. And so those are the 7 things. And so when I write those 7 goals down, I don't write the goal itself. I write what it does for me. On those, I have 7 lines, right? And so when I'm looking at my goal list, which I do every morning, I'm conjuring the feelings. It's the feelings that are causative. You can take that one step further. And now we know from quantum physics that by not just remembering the feeling, but having gratitude for it already being done, that gratitude literally grows the energetic field around the body and creates or attracts things that are much like what you are feeling. Mm-hmm. So the goal needs to be written. You need to know why, and you need to conjure those feelings to attract it to you. And the degree to which you immerse yourself in those feelings about what you want is directly proportional to how quickly it comes into your life.
That is deep, but that is helpful. Yes, I think that means a lot to people that are trying to get unstuck and to get where they want to go in life and be successful. So that is great. How did you come up with this process anyway?
I was, I got to tell you, when I mentioned the Air Force and I mentioned Dr. Maxwell Maltz. Mm-hmm. Well, I was, when I was stationed in Norton Air Force Base in the Civil Engineering Squadron, in the evenings, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I could spend them pretty much any way I wanted to. And I was always trying new things, exposing myself to new ideas. I was rebuilding who I was. I didn't think I was a very good person before I went in the Air Force, or I didn't think I was smart. I thought I wasn't going to amount to much. But when I got in the Air Force, I said, you know what? I'm going to rebuild my life, and I'm going to learn everything I possibly can about me. So there was a talent show in the evening, a big talent show. And I thought, I'm going to try to be an MC, a master of ceremonies. I'm going to see what happens. Now, I tried it when I was in the high school, and unfortunately, I bombed miserably because I didn't understand my audience. I thought my skit was pretty good, but I didn't understand my audience, and it was the wrong message for that particular audience. And so I thought, I mean, that's the worst thing that could ever happen to me. I was so embarrassed. I mean, I was mortified. Fortunately, my science teacher, 9th grade science teacher, came up to me. He says, I see what you did. I see where you're going with all this. He said, you need to be proud of yourself, but I wasn't. So I thought, maybe I could redeem myself. So I got into this talent show, and there were 2 other MCs, and oh my God, these guys were good. And the singers and the musicians and the dance. I mean, holy cow, this is because people were from all over the United States. So we had some really super talented people. And I'm asking myself, what am I doing here? In any case, the talent show was over and they picked me to go to the finals. I'm going, what happened to the other 2? Did they die or what? Did they get transferred? This can't be possibly me. Why would you be choosing me? And I was so honored. I said, yes. And then I found out what I was getting into. They said, well, we're going to fly you to Dover, Delaware, across the country. And you're going to be before 3,000 people. 3,000 people. What? And there'll be a 30-piece band, and we'll have all the top brass will be there. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I am going to embarrass my entire base. I'm going to embarrass the Air Force. My mother and father will never be the same. How can I ever look at myself in the mirror? I can't do this. So I'm standing in the PX getting ready to board a DC-10 to Dover, Delaware. And that's when I spot my limbic brain, my fight or flight was in full tilt. My adrenaline was high. My cortisol level was high. The stress was unbelievable. And I'm thinking, I'm just going to die. I am going to die. And then I see the Maxwell Maltz book. So he talked about goals. He had a whole process in there for visualization to change your self-image. That's what he wanted to do with his clients before they did the operation for plastic surgery. So he said, do this for 20 minutes a day for 30 days. I didn't have 30 days. I had 10 days. So I worked his protocol for anywhere between an hour and a half to 2 to 3 to 4 hours a day. And it concentrated on breathing and a lot of the techniques that are in these books. But I went through the process. And while I was going through the process, I had felt a sense of health and peace I've never felt in my life. I just felt like this is, if nothing happens out of this, I'm going to be a better person health-wise because it was so strong and powerful. Well, it came time for the showtime, and I am sitting on the stage, sitting at a grand piano, running over some notes. Now, here's the situation. On that stage, there are curtains, 2 stories high, purple curtains. You can feel the heat of the spotlight off those curtains. You can hear the sound of 3,000, the murmuring of 3,000 people. You can hear a 30-piece orchestra warming up, all the different tuning that they go through, right? I mean, this was a big, big, big show. And I'm sitting at the grand piano going over my 3x5 card notes because I want to introduce this person and do a great job and make sure that, they feel fantastic when they come out on stage. So I'm going through my notes. Somebody walks up to me and goes, they came from Norton Air Force Base. As I said, I came with a lot of really, really talented people. They walk up to me and they go, well, aren't you nervous? It's like the fish that go, well, what water? I wasn't thinking about being anything. I was excited. I was definitely ready with enthusiasm, but it just didn't occur to me. And so then I go out stage and, the band strikes up, the curtains open up, I go out, I do my introduction. I really don't remember anything about what I said or what happened while I was there. The only thing I did remember was I'm coming down off stage, and one of the great singers, his name was Monty, who was in that, who came with us from Norton Air Force Base. He walks up to me, he extends his hand and he goes, Daron? I go, yeah. He goes, Daron Powers? I go, yeah, what? He says, wow, what did you do? What are you talking about? He says, you're not the same person that came with us from Norton Air Force Base or in any of these rehearsals. What did you do? Are you on drugs?
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
I said, dude, I'm in the Air Force. Come on.
Yeah, right. Yeah, really.
I had no idea what he was talking about until I got back to the barracks. And on the table was a book, Psycho-Cybernetics. And I went, oh my God, this goals and this visualization, this stuff really, and I got hooked. And from that point forward, I began studying everything I could about goals, about visualization, mind states, environments, anything that I could learn that would help me to be a stronger, more confident human being so I could help other people. That's how it got started.
That is a great story. And it worked in real time for a really important project that you were doing right there. That's amazing. So Daron, tell us, what products do you offer for both businesses and individuals?
Well, of course, there's the books.
They're books, yes.
And the most recent one, which is the workbook. I'm really excited about the workbook because now we're doing seminars. And I'm going back into businesses and helping them with their teams and individuals to excel at what they do. And I tell you, some of these future vision seminars I've done, not only for Ford Motor, but for other small businesses, were just absolutely extraordinary. I mean, the seminars I put on are engaging. I don't just do information dumps. I like to get people engaged and having a good time and laughing, and because I think you learn more if you're engaged and you're having a good time. But then that has led to internal consultations, coaching, consulting, that sort of thing with businesses. So I do both for professionally for businesses, and I also do it for individuals one-on-one, whether it's to improve a golf game, to help with relationships, or in business to solidify a team, or to get individuals to be able to, in fact, there are companies now that are using the book for their book club, go through it a
Great.
chapter at a time, to help them to help their people to grow.
And where's the best place to get the books?
The best place to go is Amazon.
Okay.
If they Google Future Vision 6 Steps, it'll take them to the book, it'll take them to the workbook, and they are different. Okay. If you get the workbook, you're not going to get all the case studies. But the workbook will take you through lots of exercises to put your information in there. The book, I really recommend the book. And if you don't like reading, it's available on audible.com and iTunes also under Future Vision 6 Steps. So it's a 2.5-hour listen. You use it if you're listening, you're a listener like me, when your hands and your eyes are busy, when you're, cleaning the house or tending to the garden, pulling weeds. It's a great listen to.
You better be careful. I'm going to have you come over here and do some of that stuff.
Uh-oh.
Daron, I went to your website and I saw the videos you had on there of the people in this process, and you helped a woman with your golf game that you mentioned. You helped a person with this parenting, you help somebody with their business, you help somebody with general life goals. Is there anything that this process could not apply to?
I think anybody who has a goal, who wants to achieve something, whether they're at this level and they want to go higher, or whether that lower than my hand and they want to get there, whether they're stressed, and especially if they're stressed, I do recommend it, because I think one of the greatest skills in life is to not just have written goals all your life, but to be able to control stress, to be able to lower the stress levels, because you take the things that are going on now. We're still in post-COVID, the war in Ukraine, inflation, the great resignation, where people have left their jobs, or some are starting new businesses, they're entrepreneurs. The stress levels can be high. And if you don't learn to manage those methodically and on a daily basis, and when it comes up with something that's efficient, and what I'm teaching them in these processes literally take a minute to 2 minutes. It doesn't have to take forever to get through. Once you lower that stress level, you think more clearly. You can be more creative. You can be more functioning in terms of your thinking and your acting. So, I think learning to control stress, there was a book Larry Dossey wrote, doctor. He called it something about Mondays. I can't remember, but what he said was that the most heart attacks occur at 9 o'clock on Monday mornings when people go to their job, and they have those heart attacks. And they have those heart attacks because they're under stress, and people have not learned how to control stress. And, we all know there are a lot. You can use alcohol, you can use pharmaceutical drugs, you can use recreational drugs. That's not a bad thing. It is what it is. But what I'm saying is the most organic, the most natural, the one that's going to keep you living the longest and the healthiest would be something that you know how to do, that will allow you to control stress in that moment. And there are techniques that are simple, they're quick, and we need to know how to do those in a work setting, in a personal setting. I use them with my family all the time. With my daughter, I use it a lot.
So let's say somebody's going for a job interview, and I know my clients have a terrible fear of rejection. Would this work in that situation?
Well, absolutely. So if I was getting ready to go into a job interview, one of the things I would do would, number one, you want to write down a list of questions that you're going to have. And then you want to get yourself in the right state of mind. And so before the job interview, maybe I'm sitting in my car, I would go through the E.F.T process, which is the tapping. And, there's a whole protocol about how to use that. Now, if you don't get my book, if you don't listen to the audio program, if you don't look it up on YouTube, here's something very simple that you can do. You just take your left hand, put it over your heart right there, your fingers, and your right hand, between your eyes and start to tap. And as you tap, maybe close your eyes and imagine how you want to have that interview go. And it might not be that you get the job, because the first thing you've got to do is get your ideas across and to feel relaxed and confident you can be yourself. And by the way, when you do this, you tap your heart and you tap between your eyes, you're bringing your heart and your brain into a sense of coherence, a brain-heart coherence. And that automatically puts your limbic brain, the fight or flight, it puts it to rest. It lets you know you're safe so that you can be more of yourself, be more relaxed, and that will be communicating your body language. So then, when once you're in the interview, you can be more relaxed and be yourself. I have a client who bought the audio. He listened to the audio and he knew about one of the processes for stress control. He already knew about it. He'd been exposed to it for years. And he goes, oh my God, here comes that emotional freedom technique. That's just, so he's laying in bed and he can't sleep at night. And he had been out of work since December. And, he'd been doing resumes, and he's a smart guy. He knows about SEO, search engine optimization, a brilliant guy. I mean, very, very, very smart. But he's not landing a job, and months are going by. So he's laying in bed one night, and all of a sudden he said, I think I just better do this. And so he goes through the E.F.T process outlined in the book, and it puts him at ease. And the next day he wakes up and he's just feeling like, he can do this. He can tackle this. And he finally gets a job interview. And in this job interview, of course, he uses E.F.T before he goes in. And he gets the job. And it turns out that using the techniques and the goal setting, and he bought my first workbook. And I was surprised when he had it. He said, yeah, I already got it. I said, what? You've got the book? And so I directed him towards a couple of the exercises before interviewing. Well, he ended up getting a job, and he got 30% more than he thought he was going to get using the technique. I taught the lady that I helped to improve her golf game. She used the stress technique while she was, in case people don't go to my website to see it, she used the stress technique. She said, normally I would golf with my dad. Her dad's a good golfer, and she'd feel really nervous when she'd come up to the tee. And she said, usually I'd slice the ball, off into the woods, 90 yards into some body of water. She said, but I went to the technique, and I relaxed my limbic brain. I was able to think clearly, focused on the goal. I swung 180 yards straight down the fairway. Her dad turns to her and goes, oh my God, what did you do? What have you been doing? And she hadn't been practicing. No extra practice, no extra games. And she had that all the way through the game. So, her father just couldn't believe the difference. So the difference is, when you are able to quell those beliefs that sabotage your goals, you can do better, no matter what that goal is in business or your personal life. So I was talking with her on the phone in a follow-up interview about 2 weeks ago. And she says, yeah, Daron, it also helped me with my job. Now she's a dental hygienist. And her goal when she came to me was she was earning $38 an hour, and she didn't like the people she was working with. $36 an hour. And she said, she said, by the way, I got the job and my employer loves me. He absolutely loves me. And, he's very flexible and will work with me. And I did get the job, and it's in excess of $40 an hour. Yeah. So these techniques, if you use them, will work. They don't work if you just think about it. You've got to that's why I did the workbook. So you can do the work. If you do the homework, if you do your homework and you follow it step by step, it's not difficult. You just got to do it.
That's right. It's you can dream all you want, but if you don't take some action, I don't care how small the step might be to begin, you've got to take action. So you're absolutely right about that. And that works if somebody is internal as well, just like your Air Force story. That was kind of an internal story. If somebody's going for a promotion, it's the same thing. And I did try your technique. I only did it once, but I could actually feel some relaxation come over my whole body. So I can imagine what it would be like if I did it several times, as you suggest in your videos. So
You can use it you can use it with your goals in a positive way. You can also use it to bring down the stress level, or once you identify beliefs that are standing in your way, to actually neutralize those beliefs so they're no longer a roadblock. So you have a direct path to your goal. Sometimes I'll use it when I'm feeling really, really good. I mean, at the top of my game, and I'll tap in that that feeling, so I have it as a resource for later on. So you don't even have to be stressed in order to make it work for you.
Interesting. That's great. Did you have something for the audience today?
If people are interested in getting a coaching session, my coaching sessions are $150 a session. And if they can also call me too, if they want for a free consultation. Be happy
What's
to
your
do
number?
that.
What's your number?
248-470-8379.
Okay.
Yeah. And if they call me, I'll give them a coaching session for under $100, $97 today.
Wow, that's great. You have to mention the show, right?
But they have to mention your show.
Okay, great. Daron, you have given us so much insight into setting goals and the importance of setting them, and the science, the actual science behind setting goals. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that personally, and I know the audience does as well. Is there anything else that you think that the audience should know before we sign off today?
Well, the last thing I would like to leave people with is tomorrow morning when you wake up, ask yourself, what are you grateful for? What's good in your life? One of the things I often ask myself, and I write this down, is what are you glad about? And maybe even what are you sad about? To get yourself in a mental framework, because the morning sets the tone for the rest of your day. In order for you to be, instead of reactionary, to be a responder, that is to create your life rather than to react to everything that's going on around you, start by making sure that you have a positive attitude in the morning. And one of the easiest ways to do that is gratitude. Gratitude is incredibly powerful. I was talking with a woman here about 3 days ago, and she says, every morning I wake up, she says, and I think about everything I'm thankful for. I said, so, well, what would be an example of that? She says, well, the roof over my head, I never take that for granted. The bed that I sleep in, the fact that I can breathe, the fact that I can see, my family. She loves her mother. She loves her sisters and loves her brothers. She loves the clients that she serves every day. She thinks about that. She says, I get myself into that framework every single morning. And I'm just telling you, if you don't, you'll then be focused upon your problems. Don't be focused upon your problems. Think about the good things in your life when you first wake up. Now, that's not easy. It takes mental discipline to do that. Sometimes you might have to go to sleep before you go to sleep at night, do the same thing and remind yourself, when I wake up tomorrow morning, the first thing I'm going to do is get myself into a positive state, because the morning sets the tone for the day. I've got a product that'll be coming out on Audible very shortly. I actually did it 20 years ago. It's as important today as it was back then. It's called Wake Up and Be Alive. And the idea was 12 minutes to set the tone for the day. And it was a CD. Now it's going to be a digital product, and you can download it to your phone, let the phone wake you up. And while you're getting ready in the morning, let it play in the background. And it's just an absolutely delightful way to make sure that your mind is in a creative and proactive mode. So
Great.
That's the tip.
Well, good. I hope the audience looks for that. Yeah, go to Daron's website and stay tuned for that. Daron, again, thank you so much for your your time today and your service to the country. You're one of the reasons we have this great life to enjoy. Thanks.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for watching Business Notes. We've been speaking with Daron Powers, former award-winning Dale Carnegie leadership coach, consultant to Fortune 500 companies, martial arts instructor, an Air Force veteran, a speaker, seminar leader, and coach. I'm your host, Diane Bogino, bringing you business ideas you can bank on.